Good picture.
Shoot yourself. Hi, I'm Thomas Harris, and for my informational speech, I chose the Japanese car culture. A mode of transportation. I mean, it's a necessity in our modern world. We're fast-paced, moving everywhere, going to work. You need a car or some way to get there. For most Americans, it is a car. It's like a car, a truck, an SUV, and that's pretty standard for us. We tend to choose larger, spacious cars, like a sedan from a Chevy, which is a massive car. It even has an aisle in the middle of it. But this is not the same way it is for everywhere. Though most car manufacturers design their cars for the American market because we buy the most of them. In places like Japan, their car culture is very diverse and sort of expressive. And they, like Japanese cars, they call them the JDM, which is the Japanese domestic market. And within this market, I mean, you know Honda, Toyota, Lexus, all these types of cars. But within these exist several subcultures of cars, which include, excuse my pronunciation, but Bosozoku, Bippu, Itasha, Anyukon, Dajaban, and Decatora. And these are several subcultures which have amassed great cult followings. It started in Japan, but they've grown, and you see car meets all over the world now. But I'm just gonna go through several of those. The first is Bosozoku. These cars are flamboyant, bright colors, and the thing about them, they have extended fenders as well as side skirts, and you can see that this one has flames sticking out, but through the back, the car would end there, but instead they put a body kit on it which extends it forward and sideways. They're also lowered, as most of these cars will be. And this is actually the exhaust tip. Well, most of our cars have exhaust tips that come out the rear. This one comes out the hood, straight off the engine, and extends up and outward, sort of just a way for them to express themselves. These are more examples. You got the front that extends far past where it's actually supposed to. And on this one, it's lowered, very close to the ground, but it sort of stands out a lot. The next one is Bippu, or VIP as it's very well known. In this subculture, they take luxury cars, particularly the 90s, even some of the 80s, but mostly up until the early 2000s. They take these luxury cars like Lexuses, Acuras, and even they have moved into American as the subculture grew out of Japan. But what they do with these cars, they lower them to a very low ride height. They also camber the wheels, which is essentially where you take the wheels. Our normal cars have no camber, but then they tilt them to a certain degree outwards. And that's, you can sort of see the wheels extend out there. But from there, they tent the wheels and lower them. That gives it sort of this VIP little secretive look. But then on the interior, they make them extreme luxury cars. They don't come like this, they come as your normal car that we drive in today. For example, they put in this dash right here for cup holders and anything else you want to hold. And down here you have one for champagne as well as wood flooring, which is actually quite common within the VIP culture. One thing they do a lot is quilted leather, sort of seen as a luxury. You might see it in a Mercedes here, but quilted leather is very common within the VIP cars. Here's some more examples. This one has screens as well as champagne holds, and there's also a refrigerator right in there, which is quite interesting, sort of like our Rolls Royces, but instead they're doing these to much cheaper cars. As you can see, this is a Toyota Camry. Definitely doesn't look like that anymore. The next one is Itasha cars. This is definitely much more of a Japanese thing. It takes their love for cars as well as their love for anime and video games, which sort of arose through the 70s and into the 90s. They take these wraps, which is a vinyl wrap, and they put an image on it, which here you see anime figures, and they wrap their car, and it's just a way for them to express themselves. And then Anyukan, something. This one, essentially what it means is demon camber. So the focus of these cars is the tilt of the wheels, typically a negative camber, meaning they extend quite far out. Sort of for them, the more the tilt of the wheel, the better. But there is an extent to where like the wheel is riding just on an inch or so. They also, when you tilt the wheel, it shoves all the way up into the wheel arch, which gives you very, very little room to move. You need very smooth roads for that too. I don't believe many of us could get out of our driveway on these cars. And these are sort of an example of cambered wheels. This is a negative camber where the wheels are sticking out and then the top is more into the car, and this is positive. This is a lot less seen. It is not very safe to drive whatsoever, but the wheels sort of tilting in under the car. And then Daijobon. Daijobon is quite an interesting subculture in Japan of their cars. It's essentially when they took Dodge vans, like work vans that you see driving around the roads, from 1971 to like maybe early 2000, 2003. They take these Dodge vans, after they were used for their purpose in America, they were imported over to Asia. Essentially what they do, they strip these vans, like strip them empty. They put new wheels on it, they modify the engine heavily, but they leave the exterior pretty basic. They might have simple colors like you see right here. But the engine and the power is immensely more. Like here, an engine doesn't go there, but they put it there. They also have some that top out at 160 miles an hour, which is a lot for a work van. But these cultures, they zip around Japan through the hills, drifting corners quite dangerously, but it's something that has amassed a great following. The last subculture is Decatura. What these are, it's basically like shipping trucks, like smaller shipping trucks that they take and sort of give them an Optimus Prime look, like a Transformer look. They build on top of them with extended roofs and add quite a few lights, as you can see. These are sort of, it's based on this like Goku look, another sort of TV show that they deal with or anime. And then the interior of these is definitely quite luxury, sort of like a lounge or something, where everything's carpeted with, I mean, this one has a chandelier in it, but this sort of just represents the subcultures of cars in Japan, and I hope you'll learn something.